What's going on, folks, and welcome to another episode of My Shitty Kitchen. For today's episode, we don't really have any food porn or impressive cooking techniques going on, but in today's episode, I want to show you guys one of the most important and life-changing cooking techniques you'll ever learn. What we're going to be doing today is making a brine. Now, for those of you that aren't sure what that is, a brine in its simplest form is a mixture of salt and water. Once you've got those, you can add in fresh herbs, brown sugar, honey, or maple syrup, spices, or really whatever you want. You can even substitute water for other liquids like apple cider. Typically, you'll soak meats in a brine to keep them juicy during the cooking process. It's also a mild form of food preservation because the salt content of the water makes it really difficult for bacteria to grow. So, if you're one of those people that overcooks shrimp, chicken breast, pork chops, or any other lean protein, you might want to try brining it a bit before you cook it. Now, real quick before we get started, as you can see here, I'm brining a chuck roast, which, to be honest, is a pretty well marbled and fatty cut of meat. You don't really need to brine this, and I'd never really be too worried about it drying out, but it's been sitting in the fridge for a couple of days and it's starting to oxidize. I'm short on time, so I won't be able to make it until tomorrow night. The only solution here was to create a brine to preserve this hunk of meat for another day and impart a massive punch of flavor that's really going to come out when I cook it. Not to mention, it'll be extremely juicy. The prep for this is extremely simple. To make the brine I'm using, you'll need some kosher salt, a couple of bay leaves, some allspice, a few whole cloves, and some pepper. You can also use a little honey or sub this out for brown sugar or maple syrup if you want. It's totally up to you here. Now, the salt to water ratio for a brine is extremely important. A lot of recipes online or in cookbooks will give you a specific amount of everything depending on what you're cooking, but in every kitchen I've made a brine, usually we just make enough to cover whatever protein we're putting in the brine. That being said though, the ratio for salt to water is about 1 tablespoon of salt to 1 cup of water. This may seem like a lot of salt, but trust me on this one, it works out. As a final note, I want to make it known that the brand and type of salt you use changes the ratio. I use Morton kosher salt because it has a large coarse grain, so keep that in mind when you use this ratio. Anyway, I'm making about 5 cups of brine, so I need about 5 tablespoons of kosher salt. Once you've got those measured out, you can throw in your other herbs, spices, and sugars. As a note here, a lot of people falsely believe that sugar plays a part in making the meat juicy, but it's been proven that it's really the salt that does all the work. The honey I'm using is just for flavoring. Anyway, after you've gotten all of your auxiliary ingredients thrown in, put your pot on the stove over high heat and bring this mixture to a boil. We do this because it helps to dissolve any salt in the liquid, and we've got a few things like cloves, allspice, and bay leaves that need heat to release their flavors. Now, once your mixture comes to a boil though, cut the heat and set it aside to cool. We don't want to reduce it. Don't place anything in the brine while it's still hot. It'll start to cook, and we definitely don't want that. After your brine is cooled off, place your protein in it and set it in the fridge. Now, it's very important that you don't over-brine something by leaving it in for too long. If you do, it'll become dry, mushy, and overly salty. For a quick reference, pork chops and chicken breasts can be brined for a few hours, a whole pork loin can sit for a few days, this chuck roast will be okay for about 1 to 2 days, shrimp and thin fish fillets like tilapia can be brined for about 30 minutes, and so on. Just make sure that when you remove something from a brine to cook it, you give it a good rinse under cold water to remove any excess salt and then pat it dry afterwards. But that's about it, guys. If you're tired of overcooking your chicken breasts, pork chops, fish, or whatever, try tossing it in a brine a little while before cooking it, and life as you know it will pretty much never be the same. That's all for today though, folks. Don't forget to like this video if you learned something new, and consider subscribing so that you never miss a video. This has been another episode of My Shitty Kitchen, and I'll see you at the next one.